John Waters, welcome to RN Drive.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you must be Baltimore's most famous son, you and Stringer Bell, yeah?
Well, there's a lot of people from Baltimore. There's Frank Zappa was from Maryland.
Oh, I did not know that Frank Zappa was from
Barry
Baltimore.
Levinson. There's The Wire. There's
I know.
Edgar Allan Poe. There's the woman that took prayer out of the public school, the most hated woman in America. So we have a lot of people that come from Baltimore. They're usually fairly strange.
And for somebody who hasn't been to, I feel like I've been to Baltimore because I've seen The Wire like 52 times. But, you know, you love the city. It features in a lot of your movies. I mean, what is great about the city of Baltimore?
Well, we have I think it's like Australia in some ways, that people have a good sense of humor here. They're not impressed easily by other people. They don't want to leave, especially. I love in Baltimore when I say I have an apartment in New York and people say to me, why would you do that?
Oh, really?
Which I think is really refreshing when they say that. So I think people in Baltimore just have a great sense of humor about themselves. And that's my subject matter, is normal, people that think they're normal but are totally insane. And Baltimore is filled with that, very eccentric people that actually think they're normal and are quite mistaken.
Now, speaking of normal people who are actually insane, you've written a book called Car Sick where you hitchhike for a few weeks across the US.
Yeah.
Did you meet a lot of normal people
Well, you're
who
going to
think they're
have to
normal?
read the book to find that out.
Oh, well, can you give me a bit of a
certainly,
taster?
Yes, people were very optimistic. I'd say a third of the people recognized me, but they drove past me, and because they thought, was that John Waters? Why would he be standing on the exit ramp of the interstate highway in Kansas?
Did they think it was a trap?
No, they'd come back, but other people, mostly people thought I was a homeless man and tried to give me money, and then some
Wasn't
would
that
recognize me and start screaming. But people were very sweet. But you wait for 10 hours sometimes before somebody picks you up, so you keep repeating yourself. It only takes one ride, which is true. But generally, people were wonderful. I would recommend hitchhiking to everybody. Bring it back.
As a social experiment or a way to enlarge your social circle, or just as a kind of a life experience?
To give up control, yeah. To take an adventure, no matter how old you are. Put everything away and say your life is organized. Mine is very overly scheduled. I'm a control freak. So give it all up and see what happens.
Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about gay and lesbian rights. I mean, obviously the gay marriage issue is a huge issue in America. It's been a big debate here. And, you know, it seems that the whole gay rights movement is now focused very much on gay marriage. What do you think about that?
Well, I talk a lot about it in my show, This Filthy World. I do, because here I am a gay man that toured with the governor of our state in Maryland, and we got it passed there, and then it became federally legal. But I personally have no desire to get married. So what is the politically correct word going to be for gay men like myself that can legally be married now, that choose not to? But it's going to pass here. We're going to wear you down. I mean, the thing I don't understand is, gay or straight, everybody knows how hard it is to find anybody to fall in love with, no matter what you're like. Why would that threaten anybody? It's amazing to me, of all the things, why would that bother someone? It's hard for me to understand. Although purposely, I don't want to imitate what I think is a fairly corny heterosexual tradition. I have no desire to get married. But there's straight gay people that want to be, and that they have the right to do it. I'm for autosexual people. These are people that find sex with themselves the best, and that's the new battle I want, to marry myself.
A lot of your movies particularly deal with the whole issue of kind of the complex issue of celebrity. Have you any views about modern-day celebrity, in particular the role of social media in celebrity today?
Well, I think reality stars are not really famous. To me, that is not
Really?
fame.
Kim Kardashian isn't famous?
No, I refuse to know who she is, and I turn the page whenever I see her. Nothing against her. I don't know. She might be perfectly lovely, but for some reason, I resist her fame. I don't know who they are, and I get 112 magazines a month. I just turn the page whenever I get to them for no reason, because I like lower celebrities than that. I find celebrities as long as they can keep a sense of humor. I wrote an article recently in W, which is a fashion magazine, called Fame Maintenance, which is really, how can you be angry? Famous people that complain about people asking them to take their picture. Well, that's the whole point. Isn't that why you got in show business, to be famous? So when people come over and ask me for cell phone pictures, I pose for every one of them. Even when I'm eating and they say, I'm sorry to interrupt. Well, they're not sorry because they just did interrupt. But, they bought me that dinner. So why wouldn't I be nice to my customers?
That's absolutely true. But I mean, in terms of, I'm interested too about, are you a social media person? I mean, do you think that that's an interesting, is that a benefit to your life as somebody who is famous and has?
Well, I don't have a Facebook because the only reason for that is to see the people you wanted to have sex with in high school, and I've already stalked their houses years ago. I've already stalked their houses, and the scary thing is their children look like who you remember they look like.
Oh wow!
But I'm not on Facebook. I have friends. I'm not interested in. I want to be harder to reach, not easier. But I do think it's a phenomena. I love the idea of these kids in the Bay Area and Silicon Valley that sell a company for $42 billion, and they've thought up something that doesn't even have commercials on it. So I'm love it as a new way to excel. I'm interested in hackers. That's the new juvenile delinquents, people that live with their parents still and they haven't seen their children in a year and leave food outside their door, and they're inside shutting down the government of foreign countries on their computer.
Real outsiders and misfits in a sense in a tech world. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the new juvenile delinquents.
It's true. They're not kind of smashing cars. They're kind of,
and the problem is there's no fashion except bad posture.
That's true. That's true. And a lot of energy drinks and bad food.
Yeah.
Now, you're here for This Filthy World, which is you call a lecture stage show tour. What do you get from a live audience that you don't necessarily get from, making, you do everything. You're going to make films and, art and write books as well.
Well, you get to actually see your audience, and I try to, everywhere I go, I have Australian jokes, I had German jokes. I just came back from Germany, and I like to do a lot of research and find the right joke for my audience. And it's tough. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think you get to see. I'm lucky. I've gone all around the world by talking. I've gotten to see the world because of what I do for a living. And I think that you constantly need feedback. You constantly need input and able to make comedy about anything. And everything I do is written. So the stage show I do is a completely written and constantly updated 70-minute monologue. But I need information. So I see things. I watch people when I'm traveling. A woman said to me on the airplane the other day, "Are you a magician?" Which really made me laugh.
Wow.
I guess because of my mustache.
Well, were you wearing a velvet suit? Did you have a rabbit in your
No, that's
hat?
what I think. I've never worn a cape in my life. A new thing that's happened to me when I do my spoken word show is parents bring their very angry, insane children with them in a last-ditch effort to try to bond with them.
I think they're going to bond over you.
See,
I'm cool.
Me.
I'm
Yes,
cool. I know
to
this
see
guy.
me.
I like this guy.
Yeah. And it's kind of touching, I think.
Does it work?
I don't know because I never see them again. Another thing that's happened a lot recently is if they're waiting in line when I'm having a book signing, they wait and get to me, and the male falls to his knees and asks the girl to marry him and takes out a ring in front of me.
Wow.
That's happened 3 times this year.
Now, going back to the material you write and getting to know your audience, are there particular things that Australian audiences react to?
I think Australian actors have great sense of humor about mocking themselves first and then feeling free to mock others in a good-natured way. I think Australians are proud of everything that maybe some people try to hide, the same way I am about Baltimore, is that we're not trying to put on airs here. My favorite thing is you get in the front seat of a taxi cab here. If you did that in New York, you would be shot. They would think you were robbing you.
They wouldn't like that intimacy.
No, they would freak out if you ever did it. So someone told me, you do that here or they think you're snotty. So I always get in the front, but each time I think they're going to pistol whip me because you could never, don't try that in New York. If you go to New York, I'm telling you, don't get in the front seat of a cab.
Or just say, I'm an Australian.
In Baltimore, where I live, the cab drivers rob you sometimes.
Now, I have a final question. You've taken a bit of a hiatus from filmmaking. Do you miss it?
I wouldn't say it's a hiatus. I wrote a movie called Fruitcake, and I got a development deal, and then it never got financed. Do I miss it? No, not really, because I get to write books. I get to tell stories. Do I want to? Do I miss sitting in that trailer at 5:30 a.m. with people knocking on my door?
Oh, gosh.
Not really, but at the same time, I do want to make another movie, but maybe I won't. I've made 16 movies. They still play. They're on television. They're all over the world. It's not like I haven't spoken.